Hello and welcome to T1D Life and Travel. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my gap year and about some of the things that have happened to me that sort of weren't exactly what I expected. So sometimes people think like the gap year is going to be the best year of your life, it's going to be amazing, it's all going to be singing and dancing and it's just going to be fun. But that kind of isn't exactly true. I feel like sometimes there's a bit of a stigma around it where people think that it's just a year out from school, you're not doing anything, you're just having fun, you're kind of just like, I don't know, just living life before you start, the actual real life. But for me, for sure, that definitely was not the case. So, I was sort of working pretty much the whole time in my gap year because I worked in a school full time. So it was slightly different to, some other ones where people, do a bit of travelling around different countries. I did go to Guatemala on one of my holidays, but I was just in Honduras for pretty much the whole time. So there have been a couple of moments where it's not been the whole singing and dancing and amazing time that I hoped it would have been. But that's okay, because I think that the little moments where you struggle, then it definitely makes it makes you become a stronger person, you learn from things, and it just sort of helps develop you as a person, which I am grateful for, even though I did have quite a few times I wanted to go home. I had quite a few times where I'm like, why am I here? Why did I even decide to do this in the first place? And I did have a few moments like that, but today we're going to talk about some of the things that helped me get through it and that helped me just stay sane, or at least try to be sane on my gap year. So first of all, one thing that I did really struggle with was that I think before I left I was a lot more confident than I was, and I was getting to be the person that I really wanted to be, and I was really just focusing on all my goals. I was doing the things I wanted to do. I was really on a high after finishing high school, after learning to drive, and there was quite a few different things that I was doing. I was pretty really happy all the time and stuff like that. And then after a while, after being here for about 6 months, the novelty was sort of wearing off, and I started to feel like, who am I? What am I doing? Why did I come here and stuff like that? And I think it did start because, when I came here, I was all excited to do everything. I was excited to teach, I was excited to be with the students, I was excited to learn Spanish, to learn the culture, and to be integrated in this community, where I sort of forgot about the things that I enjoyed, and I kind of lost a bit of my identity for a while. So before I left, it was the summer of 2025, and I was kind of out all the time. I was seeing my friends, I was visiting family because I was about to leave for a year. I was seeing a bunch of people, I was doing lots of things for the last time in for a year. And I had recently learnt to drive that past May. I learnt to drive, so I was driving around, I was volunteering with the horses, I was, like I say, spending time with friends and family. I was having so much fun, being in the car, the summer time, and in Scotland it's quite nice having summer, having the sun beating down whilst I'm driving, having my music playing. That was very fun for me, and I think a lot of the things that I used to do, for example, when I used to wake up and I used to do a lot of exercise, like I say, volunteering with the horses, listening to music, driving, I couldn't do any of those things when I first arrived here. Even now I can't do that because there's just a different type of independence I guess you get here. So it's part of the rule with the people that I'm volunteering with that you're not allowed to drive, which I was like, okay, that's fine, I can not drive for a year, that's okay. But that was one independence thing that I kind of thought, that's fine, I don't have to do that, it's okay. but then there's just sort of more and more things. For example, you can't drive, you can walk, you know, on your own around the place. Like, you can't really do that without company because it's kind of well, not dangerous, but it's not recommended. The buses, well, it's not recommended to take buses either. There were a couple horror stories that I heard, you know, about people taking buses, public buses, so I didn't really want to do that. I kind of felt nervous doing that. Also, like, I'm pretty tall, I have really long legs, and the buses are kind of for small people. It's very uncomfortable, like, you're very squished like this. But I could have done it if I wasn't told it was very dangerous. And like, I don't have access to a bike or anything to like cycle, I can't run or anything like that. And I'm very much the type of person that if I have really high emotions and I'm quite stressed, then I do like to move in some sort of way, whether that's walking, running, cycling, like horse riding, you know, driving in a car or something like that. No matter what type of thing it is, or even swimming or something, I like to move because that really helps me, you know, to sort of calm down, I guess. Not calm down, not like I'm in a crazy, you know, mindset, but it definitely helps me for sure. And I guess just not being able to do any of that, it was kind of hard for me. And also there's other things, like for example, I don't know how it happened, but I guess probably the temperature, maybe, and I guess I didn't have a yoga mat or anything to start with. I didn't really do as much exercise as I used to, and that very much. I think that probably had one of the biggest impacts for me personally, because I was so active all the time back home, and then just not doing that, it very much made me sort of deplete, I guess. And the third thing, so that's independence and not exercising as much. And the third thing, this was kind of self-inflicted. So I was obsessed with learning Spanish, which I still kind of am, but not to the same extent. So when I first arrived, I was like, right, I'm going to be fluent. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be fluent. I'm going to have no English. English is a complete waste of time. I'm not going to do this. I was so focused, and I mean, it's good to be focused, but I very much lost a lot of my personality and a lot of, you know, what I used to do, because like stuff like listening to music, I'm like, no English, Spanish. And then stuff like the cooking like videos I used to watch, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. That's another reason actually why I stopped exercising as much, because all of the videos I used to watch were in English, and so I was like, no, it has to be in Spanish. And yeah, even like conversing with people, it's like, no, I'm only talking to people that speak in Spanish. And it just sort of became pretty isolating and lonely, because I wasn't exactly at the best level to just completely flip my life over like that. Like, at the time I didn't have any music I liked listening to in Spanish. I didn't have any exercise videos, cooking videos. I didn't really have that many people that I knew to speak to in Spanish, and it just sort of, I felt a bit like I want to be achieving my goals, I want to be doing all this in Spanish, but then I just sort of lost everything, because like, you know, I didn't have my music, I didn't have, you know, anything like my exercise, things that I used to do. And there are people that I used to follow, podcasts I used to listen to, I was like, no, I can't listen to them anymore because they're in English. And so I guess I sort of threw away a lot of, well, I didn't really properly throw it away, but I just discontinued a lot of my life that, you know, that was kind of normal to me, familiar to me, and it sort of built up my identity. And yeah, especially like the podcasts I listened to as well, like I used to watch quite a lot of business podcasts, like mindset stuff, you know, emotional intelligence, stuff like that. And yeah, it was just like, no. But the problem was I didn't really have the proper Spanish level yet at that time to even just watch any of those things in Spanish either. So it's kind of silly, to be honest, now that I look back on it. I don't have regrets, because I definitely did learn from that, and also it very much helped me skyrocket my Spanish for sure. And then now I can do all these things in Spanish, all the things I used to do in English before, I can do that in Spanish. Now I have like artists I have some like people that I like listening to, podcasts, books, stuff like that. So now it's fine, but that definitely, like, go back maybe 4 or 5 months, definitely had such an impact on my emotional well-being, because I just sort of threw away a huge part of my identity. It's like my whole life was in English before, literally my whole life. I'm sorry if you can hear that, there's trucks that go really lightly past my window. Anyway, so those were the 3 things that sort of impacted my emotional well-being the most. Also a bit of work as well, because I did get assigned a role to teach history full-time to all of secondary, which that one, I'll talk more about that in another video, but it was very hard for me as well doing all of the history work. But thankfully that I sort of finished doing the history stuff before I started feeling the worst emotionally, so I don't know how much that contributed to it or not. However, so the things that helped me get through this, so very much being aware of how I was feeling and why I was feeling why I was feeling so low, really did help me a lot, because like at first I didn't really know why. I was just sort of, I don't know, I was just sort of waking up, and then I was just like, I just was not feeling myself, and just like first I just was just crying just randomly all the time. Like I didn't really know why. Like there was never anything big, like major, that I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I'm upset. Like I didn't really know. I was just like, I mean, I'm upset, like little things happened, I guess, but it wasn't really something that I would usually cry over, if that makes sense. But I don't know, I was just like constantly, I was so emotional and just like constantly like feeling sad and constantly like crying for no reason. And there were a couple times I just could not go into work, or I had to go home, because I'm like, I'm literally like, I can't be crying in front of these students. Like a couple students came up to me and just like, Miss, why are you crying? I'm like, I can't do that, like that's so unprofessional. And I was feeling so bad, I was putting like blame on myself. I'm like, I can't be like this, I don't know why I'm even being like this, I can't feel like this. And I guess I sort of did try to suppress those emotions. I'm horrible at suppressing emotions though, so that didn't really work. But yeah, I sort of had to think like, why am I feeling like this? It took me like, I'd say a month, maybe even 6 weeks or 2 months to figure out why I was actually feeling like that. Which is kind of strange now, because when I look back on it, it was so obvious, but I guess in that moment it wasn't. But yeah, I definitely had to, I had to very much like stop the whole Spanish obsession thing. Like, of course it's good to have goals and it's good to work towards your goals, but I started listening to some of the artists I liked in English again. Like for example Zulita, she's probably one of my favourites, Chaperone, Paloma Faith, bit of Lizzo sometimes as well. Like I started listening to them again and like, yeah, these are the songs I actually know, these are the songs I can actually sing along to, because that was my whole life for so long. And then doing my exercises again, that very much helped. So I have like a subscription to the MadFit app, and just watching like Maddie's videos and some of the other trainers she has on the app really helped me as well get back into feeling more like how I felt before. Going on walks, that really helped me as well, because I was moving a bit more. I went on a few walks with a couple different colleagues and some friends as well, and that did start to help me as well. I also got a guitar, which was nice, and that was like my little Christmas present to myself, because I did miss playing my guitar, because sometimes like when I'm being creative it really does make me feel better. I see sometimes on Instagram people say you should create more than you consume, and so I was like, okay, I have to kind of do a bit more creative stuff, because I used to do more. And I did miss it for sure, and miss being a bit more creative. That helped me too. And for sure, reading a psychology book, that was actually in Spanish, so that did help me feel like I'm not abandoning Spanish either, because that would have been kind of bad as well. And journaling. I absolutely love journaling. I don't even know how I managed to not do it for so long, because I used to love it. Like, it would be such a nice little thing, nice little part of my evening routine, just to like sit and journal and just write down all my thoughts onto my book, onto my journal before I went to sleep, and that did help as well. And I think I sort of realised that there are things that I used to do, like I didn't realise this before, but I saw on Instagram a while ago, you should have, I think it's 7 different hobbies, and you should have one for your brain, like your general health, being physically active, a creative hobby, one for your, did I already say one for your brain, and stuff like that. So for example, like I do have quite a lot of hobbies, I don't know why, it's just my thing, I guess. But yeah, like my creative hobbies are, for example, like guitar, and then one for my brain, obviously learning Spanish, I've mentioned that before. Good one for the, for like learning new things, and like getting your brain, it's kind of like in a different way from just activating your brain to like learning new things. So like for example, listening to educational podcasts and reading books, and then there's also like active hobbies, for example like going to the gym. I'm not really a gym girly, I'm more of like a Pilates yoga type of girly anyway, like walking and doing like I said before, my MadFit exercises. That's good for physical. Good for the mind is stuff like meditating, yoga, mindfulness, colouring. And sometimes I just like to just sit. I just sit, like, I don't know, I lie on the ground, or I just like stare at the wall and I just see where my thoughts go. And that is probably the best thing that I do, to be honest. It's not exactly meditating, because it's not like I'm trying to completely clear my brain, but or clear my thoughts, or like focus too much. Like I'm not exactly trying to get present in the moment. I guess it's more just observing my thoughts and seeing where my brain goes, I guess. I do like doing that. It does help me quite a lot, because I guess it's sort of becoming familiar with who you are as a person, and sort of thinking about your values, what your actual opinions are on things. Because for me, I don't know why, but sometimes I'm very much like, I argue with someone. If someone has a good point, I argue with them. I'm sorry, I don't argue with them. That's not what I meant to say. I don't argue with them. I usually just agree with them. So yeah, but then sometimes if I just like take a moment to just think, then I can actually see, well, what do I think? Like, not what other people think that I think, okay, yeah, I guess they have, some sort of thing that makes sense. It's good to actually like see, what do I think? What do I actually think? And I like that. And the last one, just like overall like health in general, it is good to cook. I absolutely love cooking. It's very fun, especially cooking something healthy. Like for example, I have some quinoa that I just mess about with, to be honest. The last time I made something, it was awful. It was so bad. So I have this like thing of turmeric, and it's in a bottle, but the opening is really big, and I just sort of sprinkled it in, but then a bunch of turmeric just came out and it tasted really bad. But that's okay. I guess you learn from your mistakes. But yes, I guess now, that was the time before the last thing. The last thing I made, it was almost like a brownie, but it had like quinoa, mashed banana, honey, and oats, and some flax seeds, and I just sort of mixed it into like wasn't really a dough. It was kind of like a dough consistency type of thing. It was more like a splodge of like stuff, I guess. And then I just planted it down and put it in the air fryer. It did turn out very nice. But yeah, cooking is very much something I like to do. I just randomly experiment with just random foods and just see what happens in the kitchen, to be honest. But yeah, so those, definitely learning about having different hobbies for different parts of your brain and different parts of your health in general, like being creative, activating your brain, being physical, like all of these different things very much helped me overall sort of get more of a balance in my life and feel more like myself, because before I had so many hobbies, like I loved sewing. I made a dress actually, which I have not finished. I'm gonna have to finish when I get back home. Yeah, and actually that's another thing. I have needle and thread, and I had these jeans that were very small, and I cut out the pocket of them. I just started sewing like some flowers or whatever. So yeah, embroidery is pretty fun as well. That's a nice other creative. It's more mindfulness, I guess. Mindfulness and creative. So yeah, so I think the message overall I wanted to put out there was that gap years, as much as it seems like it can be the best year of your life and it can be absolutely amazing, and there are incredible parts of it, don't get me wrong, there have been incredible moments, but it's inevitable that there will be some hard times. Like, you know, you will miss the familiarity that you had, you know, wherever you came from before, the person that you were before as well, because you will change a lot in a gap year, a lot after experiencing just the world, experiencing a different maybe culture, a different way of life, different something, you know, something that you'll do will be different for sure. And I think that it's important to know that it won't be, you know, 100% easy and fun all the time, but I think it's also important to know how to help and how to, like, what things you can do to sort of help yourself feel a little bit better and feel a bit more like yourself. Because I think for me it wasn't exactly homesick of missing home, it was more like homesick of, I was homesick for, I guess, missing the way that I felt before and missing the parts of me that I had lost, and I just didn't feel like myself anymore. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful, hopefully that was a bit insightful. If you are going to go on a gap year, hopefully you know, you feel a bit more prepared, and hopefully you feel like, you know that things might be hard, you know, things will get hard at some point, but you know that there are things you can do to pull yourself out of it and keep on going. And if you are on a gap year and if you're feeling a little bit, if you're struggling a little bit right now, then you can always ask me, you can feel free to chat, you can like message me on Instagram or something, and to feel a bit less alone, because I definitely have been there before. Or if you're in the middle of a gap year and you don't feel the same way, then that's amazing, but if you do, then always know that you're not alone, and I'll be here if you ever want someone to speak to it about that. So anyway, I hope this has been insightful, and whatever part of the day you're in, morning, evening, night, afternoon, whatever, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!